Good morning, and welcome back to our special Power Packed episode of Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. As you may know by now, you are joining us and we are joining you from the Fairways restaurant. And as we continue with this morning's conversations, I have the privilege of speaking with Mr. Brian Williams, who is the head of the Tobago Wassa region. Good morning, Mr. Williams, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Shenell. Shenell, good morning to you, to your team, Fairways, Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago, and the wider world who is tuned in.
Right, it's always a pleasure to sit with you. You know, there's a saying, when rain falls and people are crying, Wassa men are smiling. Is that true? And because last time we had the conversation, we were talking about how low our water reserves were here in Tobago. And after Hurricane Beryl, can Wassa men truly smile?
Well, if you notice, I have been smiling since I walked in, and my smile continues. And before we get into the reason for the smile, I wanted to just take this moment to say a thank you to the entire Tobago and the rest of the people who would have been praying for us to get to the other side of this thing safely. And through your prayers and intercessions, we were able to get to the other side without incident, and I thank you for it. I would also like to thank a lot of work was put in on the ground in the run-up, during, and even in the aftermath of the event by Team Wassa, which included not just the Tobago people, but the board and the executive. We had a number of interactions before, during, and even after. And coming out of it, we were able to do a very thorough and comprehensive gap analysis to ensure that in the event, because as the Chief Secretary said, who was here earlier, we are on the edge, we are in the hurricane season, and there's a possibility that we will face very many more. The gap analysis has allowed us to ensure that we could plug the necessary holes to ensure that we are even more prepared than we were last time. Back to my smile. The existing situation is, in this moment, all of our rivers are swollen with the exception of the Shalvey River. So we are in a better place to provide the service that the customers of Tobago expect by virtue of having water available at all the major sources. The Corland River is swollen, overflowing. The Richmond River, Hillsborough Dam, we have caught an aggregate of 6 feet of water since the rain started, the rains there, and we anticipate after the rains of last night that we will catch some more. So we are poised to say with all confidence that the levels of service that we in Tobago, you in Tobago, have been exposed to and experiencing prior to this, the harshest of the dry season, we are on the cusp of returning to that version of normalcy. So hence my smile. Thank you for.
Right, so there is some level of good that could come out of a bad situation, as it is expected that the overall water issue can be resolved within the upcoming months.
Yeah, I would say yes. We have already started experiencing the changes and acting on these changes. For example, during the last few months of the dry season, we would have reduced the abstraction from Hillsborough Dam to ensure that at the end of the dry season, we would have water available inside there. With the increased 5 foot, 6 foot, the increased 5 foot in the dam associated with the precipitation that we would have experienced over the past few, we have upped our production at the Hillsborough Dam to the maximum, and it is expected that once the rains continue that we will be able to hold it at the maximum production to ensure that the customers will benefit from the increases on a continuous and ongoing basis.
Right, and seeing that there's water in the pipes now more than before, is it that you're seeing a surge in leaks?
It is too early to say, in fairness, because it's very wet outside. Mm-hmm. But traditionally and historically, once we increase the production at sources, the infrastructure, which is an easy-age infrastructure, which we are actively in the process of getting changed out and that kind of thing, there will be an increase in visible leaks. Notwithstanding, we are prepared and ready to embark upon the continued leak repair drive to ensure, one, that we keep the leaks in a way that, at a level that is satisfactory to the customer from the standpoint of the visual nuisance that it creates, and also to allow that this water that is wasting to get to the customer. I should also take this time to tell you that one of the things that we have been working on, and which will be felt as the season progresses, we have been very heavily and actively involved in projects to improve the levels of service, of which changing out of aged and high leakage pipelines are a part. Right? This is an ongoing exercise, and the intention is we have there are protocols within the organization where we identify and track high leakage pipelines, and we have targeted some of the major ones in Tobago, and over the upcoming months we will be, and ongoing, we will be changing all these, as much of these as we can during the season.
And right, with the increased pressure and the leakages popping up throughout the island, what advice do you have for citizens when they encounter these leaks? You know, how to contact WASA, how they should treat with that?
All right. We have the Operations Control Center. All the numbers are available on our website. And we ask that the public, you do your part in ensuring that you see something, and so that we can all work together, coordinate to get it sorted out. In addition to the public intervention and the need for the public to assist in the process, we at WASA have embarked on a number of different initiatives to ensure that we stay on top of leakage identification with a view to and repair. The last time I was here with you, we spoke about the technology that we'll be using, and we are on the edge of rolling out a number of interactive platforms where leaks can be identified and tracked, and the progress of the repair from identification to being repaired, inclusive of road restoration, can be seen by the public. These platforms are ready to be rolled out, and in short course they will all be available, so that you, the public, now have the ability to assess our progress and hold our feet to the fire where necessary. Right?
And I am thinking that you're going to be here on Tobago Updates again to roll that out here with me on Good Morning Tobago. I'm holding you to that. As we wrap up this morning's discussion, tell us the overall impact that this hurricane has had on WASA Tobago.
All right. I'm glad that you came back to the hurricane, because one of the biggest takeaways for us is that we did a gap analysis at the end of when the alerts were lifted. And coming out of the gap analysis, we have identified a number of things that we will, let me give you some examples. We have within the organization protocol standard operating procedures for such a situation as a hurricane. We roll it out for Beryl, and in the rollout we would have recognized that there are some things that we can do a little better. For example, one of the challenges that we had was the inaccessibility of the public and maybe repair and maintenance and emergency people to some of the places by virtue of the location. For example, the Hillsborough Dam. In attempting to mitigate against things like this, we have amended, we looked at all these different challenges, and we have amended, or we are in the process of plugging these gaps, because we are in the midst of a hurricane season, and Beryl is the second. AB, they are normally alphabetic, if I'm not mistaken. So what this has done, it has forced us, or maybe force might not be the right word, in attempting to be the best version of ourselves in treating with the challenges associated with a continuous and reliable supply before, during, and after such an event. We are in the process. We have amended the our hurricane protocols, and we are in the process of rolling them out. We had some challenges, for example, with standby power, because Tiantec, by virtue of the inaccessibility of some of these places, we had some challenges with, for example, power. We have been working on ensuring that we have standby power to allow us to go through these periods prior to this, and the situation showed, and the associated gap analysis showed, that this is an area which we have to tighten up on, which we are in this moment working very hard to ensure that we can guarantee some continuity, inclusive of the things that prior to this, that we were not on top of, for example, the power requirements that we are, because we are working very hard at ensuring that all these gaps are plugged, to ensure that in the event of when the other one rolls in, God forbid, but it's a reality we have to face, that we are better prepared and ready to speak to it. Right?
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Williams, for coming on and giving us your time this morning. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, and it's good to know that the water situation is now in a better place due to Hurricane Beryl. So out of every negative situation, there's always, that silver lining.
Thank you so very much for having me, and I do I'm waiting on, because I'm sure that you will invite me back, and once it is cleared with my higher-ups, I am always willing and to come and share with you, because I do believe that information is key for people understanding what is and what is not. And the good thing about social media now is that a lot of the stuff that is said here can be checked in real time. So I say, listen here, water in Crown Point, somebody check and send it. So what it does, it also allows John Public and the media houses, while you're sharing our situation, to keep us honest, keep our feet held to the fire, to ensure that we give you a true and correct expression of what the situation is and what the challenges are.
All right. So again, thank you so much, Mr. Williams. Guys, we're going to wrap up here. And again, I want to thank you for sticking with us this morning in our special extended version of Good Morning Tobago as we sit here at the Fairways Restaurant. Guys, we thank you again for sharing, liking, and commenting. I want to say a special thank you to the Chief Secretary for coming on with us this morning, the Honorable Farley Chavez Augustine, along with the newly appointed Secretary for Finance, Ms. Petal Roberts. And we also had the Tobago Dance Ensemble, and we wrapped up our conversation with Mr. Williams, who is the head of WASA Tobago. And again, I want to thank you for sticking with us this morning. Have a great day.